creating your illustrated image requests within Flash for Middlebury Interactive. Okay, so basically what we have now is we have our frame, and we have our first image that we put in. Now, because the purpose of the frame is so that when you place your, it's a standard to which your image can be snapped. Okay, so basically you can just, if you have snapping on, if you can see these guidelines that are around here, it'll just snap to the edges. Even if it's, see, the frame's in the layer above it, but Flash still recognizes it, and you can just make it snap in place. Okay, so from here, what you need to do is just create your, make this really a really nice illustration. Now, in some cases, like the cricket right here, you should already have a lot of these assets. Okay, so I would go into your library window and you type in, cricket, and hopefully you have it there that you've used throughout your story. Now, obviously, if you don't have it, you'll have to copy and paste it in from the story timeline, or just it's never too late. It's never too late to create a graphic parts of your characters of your story. Okay, if you failed to do it when you did the story, well, it's not too late right now, and it's still going to save you a lot of time if you do it. Okay, so these are really just placeholder ones, and so when you make yours, make it really nice. Okay, so strategy for illustrating. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select this reference, and I'm going to name it a symbol. Let's name it the name of our, let's name it the name of what this is. So we're still in lesson 1. So L1 underscore, the title is a map, and it has instructions here, right? It explains what all these things are doing, but it looks like we can just call it map because it's just a full page thing, lesson 1 map. Okay, so let's go back here. I'm gonna hit, with that selected, I'm gonna hit F8, L1 underscore map. Okay, so now I can double click it to go inside of it, and what I want to do is create a layer above it, at least one layer above it, and I want to lock this. So this will be my reference on the bottom. I'll lock it, and on the top I'll do my illustration. So if I had to do just do this by hand, which is not a bad idea, I am going to just start sketching it out. Okay, that's a garden, so I'll do that more in perspective. And this is just the sketch phase, but everything more or less should line up pretty much to the same. The important thing is that things don't overlap this text area, but and you want to have the same general layout of it. Okay, obviously you can make it a little bit bigger and a little bit smaller, but in general, if you want to make that path a little crooked, more interesting, but in general you really want to keep the same position. Okay, now let's say, oh man, what would be really nice is if this reference image was a little bit faded out, because it's kind of hard to see my own sketches myself. That's a great thought. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lock this layer I've been sketching on, and you can hide it if you want. And I'm going to unlock this reference one. Now, what I want to do is how do I fade it out or whatever. Under your properties, you can see with this just selected, it can't really do any of those color effects. basically what this is it imports it as a bitmap, and you can't really edit it. So what you need to do is you need to make it a symbol. So hit F8. If you want, label it so you can find it again. Lesson 1 map underscore ref for reference. Okay, so now that it's a symbol, now it has the color effect options. So the easiest one, you can do, there's a couple things you can do with it. You could change the alpha, which is the transparency. And doing it this way, you could actually place it on top of it. Oh, sorry, on top of your sketch. For whatever reason, if you wanted on top of it, change the alpha does that. You could just tint it. You could tint it white. Okay, you could tint it somewhat white. Now, this is an advanced feature. Let's say if you're familiar with the multiply effect in Photoshop, what it does is everything that's white goes kind of transparent, and you can see all the color pieces. So because this thing is most of it, the background is white, if we could somehow do a multiply effect, then we could see through those white parts. You actually will want to use this option with some of your illustrations. So how do you do that? With your symbol selected, we usually use graphics, but in this case, we're going to make it a movie clip. So the symbol type. So with that selected, I'm going to go to my properties, and over here it says graphic. Okay, and it has this. What we're going to do is we're going to click this drop down arrow, and we're going to make it so you can make it a graphic, a button, or a movie clip. We're going to make it a movie clip. Now, when it's a movie clip, there's a option. Where is it at? Aha. Under display, okay, there's a blending option. Oh yeah. And right now it's normal, but click the drop down arrow, and it has a lot of options. Oops. Erase, alpha, invert, difference, subtract, add, highlight, overlay, screen, lighten, multiply, darken. Okay, a lot of blending modes that are familiar to Photoshop. So what we want to do is multiply. So hit multiply, and as you can see, as soon as I did that, even though my reference is on top, even though it's on top, but because it's multiplied, I can see through those white parts, and I can see what's behind it. Anyway, with other illustrations, you'll find that option very, very helpful. And you could do a multiply effect and a alpha effect at the same time. If you want it multiplied and have the alpha down, because they're different things. One's a display option with multiply, and the other one's a color effect with alpha. However you want to do it. Okay, maybe just tone it down so you can see your illustration, and you can continue illustrating, and you have it. Now, exporting. Okay, now this is a similar thing of what we saw right here with this little guy. You're gonna have to, because a lot of times your background, if I'm creating my background here, it's gonna go outside that frame. You know what I'm saying? If this is my hill or whatever it is, or my little guy, he's probably gonna go outside the frame. You're gonna have to create a mask that's the exact size. Now what you can do is you can just use, if you want to, a really easy way to do it is just your reference image. You can make that the mask, or you can duplicate it. So if you wanted to keep a copy of it below your illustration and hide it, you can right click your layer and say duplicate layer, and just make sure the mask needs to be on top of the other images. So right click and you can say mask. Okay, Now, what if now for a mask to visibly crop it, it has to be counterintuitively, the eyeball has to be visible, so it has to be visible and it has to be locked for the mask to show the crop inside the symbol. Now, let's say you have a ton of layers beneath the mask that need to be masked. So right here, we just have layer 2 being masked by layer 1, but what if we want all of them underneath it? You know, what if there were layers and layers of backgrounds and characters? All you do is you select the layer and you click and you drag it, and you'll get this little option, okay? Clicking it and dragging it, and it'll place it as another masked layer. Now, likewise, if you don't want something to be masked, you just click it. Oops. So you click it and you drag outside of it. Should be able to. Oh, so what I had to do is I had to kind of drag it down and to the left a little bit for it to work. So down and then to the left. There, you see how it pops over? And now it's another regular layer. Okay, so now let's say you have your final images, and now how do we save them out, you know, into the format that you need? Now here's the secret. You want to make sure that your illustrations are just one frame long. You don't want them to be a whole, you know, you don't want them to be 10 frames long like an animation. You just want them to be one frame in length. Now what we're going to do is we're going to right click our image. Right now we're outside of our illustration. We're going to right click it, and we're going to go down over here and say export PNG sequence. Now, why does it say sequence? Well, because Flash is animation, for the most part, they're thinking that you're going to want to export, you know, a multiple framed sequence where it's going to animate. But since this is just going to be a one frame image, it's just going to export a PNG image, which is exactly what we want. So what I did, and what you should do, is create a keyboard shortcut. I chose Command E for export, but you can choose whatever you wish. So I'm going to hit Command E, or just right click it and select it. Now these are some options, okay? So make sure the title's right. It puts in the title of your symbol. Oh, I accidentally put a exclamation point, not a 1 there. Okay, make sure the title's right. File format, PNG sequence. I don't think it lets you choose anything else. PNG sequence, and you're gonna hit save. Okay, now after you hit save, then it'll give you some options, okay? Look at this. So, the width, you get to choose how big it is. Because it's Flash, you can size it however big or however small you want. So just dragging these things up and down, it'll auto update whatever dimensions you have. Okay. So for these square ones, you know, maybe make them actually by default. So right now the size of this frame is the perfect size, right? It's 800 by 500. Now, what is the resolution, the dots per inches standard? The standard is 72. What this means is if exporting this image at 72 dots per inch, it's going to export it the exact same size that I see it relative to my document. Okay, so if I know that this square right here fits in really well with with the basic size and layout of these ones. You know what I'm saying? So maybe what we should have done is downloaded this so we could see more or less what size this needs to be. But in general, with these standalone images, just make them bigger than you think they should be, and then the people who use the images, they can resize them, okay? But in the case that you really do know exactly what size you need, and you've made it that size on your document, like for example, I'm going to hit cancel. Right now, I can look at the size of my square under properties and position and size. Right now, it's 220.4 by 220.4. If I know that's the exact size that they need it, and I export it, and I say and I change the resolution to just 72, it'll make it the exact same size that it's at in my document. Okay, so 72 is the standard. Okay, so hit export, it saves it out. Awesome. Let's go to the next one. Okay, if this one's ready, I'm gonna hit my Command E. I'm gonna make sure the title's right. I'm gonna, save it in the right folder. Save. Now that's interesting. Now something's wrong here. So my image should be 800 by 500, but and it's the right resolution. Something's wrong within my illustration. So this is actually a good standard. Okay, if you see that you're exporting it at 72 dpi and it's not the right size, there's something that's wrong. So I'm gonna hit cancel. So what's wrong with this? I can actually kind of already tell. If I go into it, it must be that even though my mask is the right size, well, actually let's make sure the mask is the right size. Yeah, so I'm clicking on my mask, and look, it's the right dimensions, 800 by 500. It must be that in a certain part of my illustration, there's nothing there, so it has nothing to mask. So when you do yours, just make sure that every single part overlap. You want to overlap the frames just so that you make sure that everything is covered. Okay, so let's just say that's the sky and everything. Okay, so just make sure it covers the entire frame. And now I'm gonna make sure everything's masked. Okay, so my background wasn't in the masked part. So I'm gonna select those. I'm gonna click and drag underneath so that everything is masked. I'm gonna lock it so that I can see it. Okay, good. Okay, now I'm gonna click it, go to properties. Okay, so now it's good. 800 by 500. Sweet. So export, save. Everything's good here with the size. Perfect. Export. Oh, now look at this. Why is it taking so long? Exporting image sequence. It's taking a long time. I'm gonna hit cancel because it shouldn't take that long. Yes, I want to cancel. Why is it taking so long? Oops. Look what I did. This symbol has, whoa, it has a huge amount of frames to it. It has 396 frames. What that will do is that'll create the same image 396 times because it thinks I'm trying to do an animation. So click and drag your whole range except for the very first one, and then hit Shift F5 and hold it down until it goes just to 1. Okay, so that's another thing to watch out for. Don't accidentally create an image that creates a billion of the same thing. Okay, so now Command E, save, export. It should only take a fraction of a second to export. So if it's taking a long time, now if you want to see what it was doing, let's see, where was I exporting these? In my overarching illustrations. Just to show you what happened in my overarching illustrations. Look at this. Now I canceled it before it did all of them, but look what it did. It got up to 110 of them before I canceled it. So all these are the same image 100 times. So I'm just going to delete those, but make sure I have just the one. So watch out for that. Okay, I think I've showed you basically everything you need to know. Use your color properties to make things, to edit the colors, and you'll just have to download one at a time. And see, it'll give you specific instructions sometimes. Okay, so use the tools that you've just learned, and just let me know if you have any questions. Okay, thanks guys.